Hey guys, I just wanted to give you a little update, a little background on our student case study last week. Like our assignment list already told you, it's my story. I'm Christy, but really my name's Raylene. I'm not from South Detroit. I'm from East LA. I didn't move to New Hampshire. I moved to Lubbock, Texas. And let me tell you, they were a bunch of preppy kids back then. And when I moved there, I thought, these kids look like how I feel. I don't look like them because, I could only wear black and gray and purple. But eventually I got new clothes and I began to fit in and I really blossomed in Lubbock. I went to Evans Middle School and then I graduated from Monterey High School. I have a degree from LCU and all my graduate work's at Wayland. So I am truly a Lubbock girl, and Lubbock's done really, really well for me. So let me give you a little bit of background. The reason I share my story with you is so that you're comfortable sharing your story with me. You all know now that our first essay is a personal narrative. You're going to share with me your story, right? What happened before you got here? I want to know all of your story. And I know sometimes it's hard to share our story. When I first started sharing my story with my students, it was difficult for me to talk about the verbal abuse that I had, or crappy teachers, or growing up really poor. We were poor, right? But now it's easy. And now I bond with a lot of my students because they understand what I went through because they went through it too, right? So I just want you to feel comfortable and know that I didn't have this perfect middle income suburban life. I had stuff too. And some of you are thinking, I had a great childhood. I did grow up in suburbia and it was great. And my parents are awesome and they're still together, or whatever the case may be. And I love that. I want to hear your story too. But I really want to make sure that the students who didn't have a perfect upbringing are okay sharing their story. And I know some of you, your story's harder than mine, right? I just want you to feel comfortable. So I share my story in hopes that it helps you to share your story too. Just a little update. So after I went to the bathroom crying after that teacher was weirdly aggressive in class. I'm not sure what that was about. He was an odd duck. And there were lots of students that loved him, but I did not. There are other stories about him that I can tell you, but I won't. Anyway, I ended up getting an A in that class. When I ran to the bathroom, it was close to the weekend, and I just took the weekend to kind of feel better about myself and remind myself who I am, right? And I ended up getting an A in that class, and I felt like that was my way of saying, haha, you can't judge a book by a cover. Just because I look like I'm a gangster from the hood doesn't mean I don't have a brain, right? That I'm not intelligent. So that was my gotcha moment with that coach, that instructor. My grandmother taught me to be street smart. My mom wanted me to get out of the hood, so she really instilled in education. I needed both of my parents because you couldn't survive in East LA if you weren't street smart. And I couldn't get out of the hood and have my dream life, being an English teacher, teaching all of you, if I didn't get an education. So I'm super grateful for both of them. They both instilled powerful messages into me. I lost my grandma 8 years ago. That was really tough. I was in graduate school at the time, and I had to take the semester off because I couldn't handle it. It was rough. But we're all okay now. My mom's okay. My uncles, so my Uncle Ray, the one that was verbally abusive, he doesn't have a good ending to the story. I haven't talked to him since I was 13 or 14. His own children haven't talked to him in a really long time either. They had it worse than I did, as far as verbal abuse and even physical abuse. Now, my Uncle Glenn, one thing I didn't tell you about him is I never knew as a kid that he had a drug problem. I never knew he was an addict. When I saw him, he was amazing. He was fun. He played with me. He made me feel good. He told me how much he loved me. And he was a really good male role model for me. He got out of prison for the last time when I was 10-ish. I don't know. I heard all these stories later. And he turned his life around. So I've only known this amazing man. He got a truck driving license, and he eventually bought his own semi truck, and then he bought a few semi trucks, and then he had a small fleet, and he made way more money than I will ever make. He retired about a year and a half ago, and he moved to Texas. It's so nice to have him closer. He lives in Dallas, and he paid cash for a McMansion, I call it, a little mini mansion in Dallas, and he's doing really, really well. He's pretty amazing. So even if you're an addict, it's just an issue that you have to overcome, right? It doesn't make you a bad person. So anyway, all this to say, I can't wait to read your story, and I hope you feel comfortable sharing it with me. I will respect your story, and it's my favorite essay to read of the semester, so I can't wait to get to know each of you a little bit better by reading your story.